Going to be making a fish baked in salt, traditional Spanish method of cooking fish. And this is great because it's quite dramatic and it's really quick and really easy and it requires very little equipment. All you need is a whole fish. This has been gutted, so the inside's been taken out, the gills have been taken out, and all the spiky bits have been chopped off and the scales have been removed. Other than that, you don't have to fillet it, you don't have to worry about any bones, just completely whole. Leave the head on, leave the tail on.
Actually, the tail's a pointy part, Mummy.
Yeah, look, it's pointy. Second thing you need is a bag of salt. This is from Spain, where we live, and it actually says here that it's for cooking in salt. And sometimes they have a fish picture on them, but really all you need to make sure is that it's a very big bag and that the salt is thick. So it's not your table salt, it's a lot coarser, the pieces are much larger than that. And this salt goes into the bowl.
All the salt?
Quite a small fish, so we're going to try just using half.
Can I also put the fish in?
Oh no, you'll see. We're not going to put the fish in there, we're going to put that on the fish, you'll see. And then we need a tin which is bigger than the fish because the whole fish is actually going to get covered in salt. So it needs to be the right size and shape to be able to contain the fish. If you have a head sticking out or a tail sticking out, it's not going to work because it needs to be sealed for those liquids to stay inside the fish. So the first thing you need to do is you need to put your oven on the highest temperature that will go to. Mine goes to 300, but you can do whatever the maximum of your oven goes to, 250, 280, anything like that is good. And then we have the salt in the bowl, and we just put a little bit of water in here. And then we mix with our hands. You want to do that part? Your lovely clean hands. And we mix it very much like mixing dough. A little bit of salt at a time, making sure that a little bit of water at a time, making sure that all the salt gets soaked with the water. And we keep doing this until we have a texture of wet sand. So you don't want it to be puddling water at the bottom, but you also don't want it to be completely dry salt. This is actually really, really nice for your hands. It's like a little hand spa. After you've done this for a while, you have the softest hands ever. A little bit more water in this one. The salt is getting a 3-handed massage. I'm only helping you because I want my hands to be soft, Maxie. And into this you can put some flavours. I usually put fennel seeds in here.
Can I do some?
No, because your hands are salty. I'm going to use my one dry hand to put these in, but you can mix them up. It's about 2 teaspoons of fennel seeds gone into there. That's because I mostly like the smell, and it does give a little bit of an aniseedy flavour to the fish, just a little touch, a little aromatic there. You can also, if you wanted to, put some herbs into the cavity of the fish, or a bit of lemon, just to infuse the meat with a little bit more flavours. I'm not going to bother.
But I want to do that.
Actually like it as it is.
But I want to do that.
We can do that next time instead of the fennel seeds. You don't really need to do both. Is that all mixed up?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the important bit, so I'm going to bring it a little
Can
bit
I
closer.
put this on?
Huh? Yeah. So what we need to do is put a layer of salt onto the tin.
Can I do that?
Yeah, of course. Please. And we need it to be a bed for the fish. So as long as your fish is, that's the length of the salt that we need. Okay, that's enough. Thank you. So this is the kind of bed of salt that we want. It's about 1 centimetre thick, maybe a little bit less, but it's uniform. It goes all the way to the end of the tray. And now we put the fish on it. Max is going to do the honours. Very good. Excellent, right in the middle. Beautiful, Maxie.
Now we put some on top.
Yeah, in a second. First, we just need to make sure that the fish hasn't moved some of the salt like this. We want to make sure that the salt bed is whole because it needs to form a crust. If there's any holes in the crust, it won't steam properly. And we also want to try to avoid getting any of the salt into that cavity because it will make it a little bit too salty. All of the salt goes on the top. Very good. And now we need to shape it into a bed for the fish. So we need to make a crust that is 1 centimeter thick all the way around the fish. Now you can see this fish has been completely covered in salt. There aren't any bits poking out. There's no skin that you can see through the salt crust. And the crust is even all over, which is why it's taken on the shape of the fish. It's very important there's no holes and that there's isn't an area, for example, here near the head where it's very, very thick with salt and then it's thinner here because we want it to cook evenly. And now all that's left to do is to put this in the oven. If anyone's ever been to a Spanish restaurant where they cook these, you may have seen the waiters taking the salt off. Basically what you have to do is you put a clean tea towel over it to make sure that the salt doesn't fly everywhere. And then just roughly figure out where the fish is. And what you want to do is you want to basically make a hole along the side, so along where the spine of the fish would be or the belly, about halfway. And the best way to do this is actually with a small dinner plate. And you just smash it. And what you get from doing that is this big crack along here. And if I show you without the tea towel, you just kind of make this crack in it. Once you've done that, you do the same thing on the other side along here, and then you just lift the whole thing off like a cap. So now I've broken this side and this side both with my plate, and the salt is still pretty hot, so I'm trying to not do this with a naked hand. But if you'll see, there's a sort of lid of salt. As you peel it off, it takes with it the skin, just revealing this lovely fish. This is why we don't have to be too worried about a couple of extra scales, because you don't eat the skin, that stays with salt. What you have is this beautiful, perfect fish here. And if you manage to take the lid of salt off very, very cleanly, there shouldn't actually be any salt in here. And the amazing thing about this dish is that the fish you have underneath is not salted at all, because this is completely clean of salt. And all you have to do now is continue to sort of work away at this, cleaning the salt off the sides, and then you can lift this out, and we have these 4 beautiful fillets of fish that have got hardly any bones. I have got some. This is really soft, really tender, not at all salty, and just beautiful, beautiful fish. This isn't part of the recipe, but I couldn't help but give into temptation and show you just how clean this plan has come out. There's another advantage of cooking fish this way. I just dumped out everything that was on there with all the salt and the bones, and now all I have is a mildly salty pan that will clean up beautifully. So there's also very, very little mess with this recipe.